Hello everybody. Thanks for coming out today. I'm medical oncologist Sita Trivedi, working with Regional Cancer Care Associates. We are a group of medical oncologists, and I'm here on this South Asian Day of Wellness to share some of my knowledge with you guys. Hopefully open up the floor for questions that you may have, any type of questions. I'm a medical oncologist, but mostly I'm here today to talk about diet, nutrition, and things that can help you get through chemotherapy, hopefully easily. It's not easy getting chemotherapy, going through chemotherapy. It is a long journey, but like I like to tell my patients, there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are instructions to follow. There is no one size fits all, but with the proper support, family support, your doctor's support, nursing support, social support, it makes it a lot easier. A lot of this stuff is available online. The problem is a lot of times it's overwhelming. There's a lot of stuff online. You don't know what to read. You don't know what necessarily applies to you, and so this might help. So why do you lose your appetite in the first place? So chemotherapy tends to include a lot of different types of medications, and chemotherapy in this day and age loosely also includes immunotherapy, targeted therapy, oral chemotherapy pills, antibodies. You know, all of those medicines, just like any other medications, have their side effects. The purpose of chemotherapy is to hopefully kill cancer cells. Cancer cells are rapidly dividing. That's why cancers grow so fast. And chemotherapy tries to kill these cancer cells as they are dividing, and in the process also winds up killing cells in our body that also rapidly divide. Some of the rapidly dividing cells are, for example, skin. Okay, when we are rubbing our hands, we are brushing off skin cells of our mouth. Constantly there are cells that are being shed. Our taste buds. Okay, so when chemotherapy kills cancer cells, it also winds up killing these cells in our body, and that leads to loss of appetite. You wind up feeling, the chemotherapy also winds up making you nauseous. It changes your smell. It changes your sense of taste. It changes your body's strength. You feel tired. And all those things are linked with your appetite, with your sense of well-being, with your wanting to even get out of a chair, get to the kitchen and eat. So, you're feeling, also then there's the psychological aspects. You're, feeling depressed. You're, going through this for the first time. You may or may not have other problems like pain, breathing issues, and all of these things tend to affect your appetite. Gastrointestinal issues, nausea, vomiting, constipation, diarrhea, depending upon what cancer you have, all of these things add up. So how can you make this journey a little easier? So the first and most important thing for everyone, ask questions. Okay, as rushed as your doctor may be, your doctor is there and should be there to help you with this process. Because doctors are rushed, most oncology practices have nurses, have ancillary staff, have nurse practitioners, and they can all help. So start by asking questions. Start by making lists. Start by talking to people you may or may not know who have been treated. Understand that not everyone's experience is the same. Just because one person, I had a friend who died of cancer, doctor, so I don't want to go through the same treatment. That person might not have had the same type of cancer, might not have got the same type of treatment. Everyone is different. So while asking questions, don't close your mind to anything. Just understand that those things are there to help and guide you. Most of the times before getting treatment, patients are given a cocktail of medications to make the treatment a little easier on you. Okay, so ask which medicines you're getting. Things like Tylenol, things like Benadryl, things like Pepcid, which is something to help with acidity. Steroids sometimes. Steroids increase your appetite. They make you feel hungry. They can also keep you awake at night. nausea medications, these are often part of what we call pre-medications when you're getting cancer. And this cocktail of pre-medications might also sometimes help to stimulate your appetite. They might help to make your appetite worse. You want to know what you're getting. Pain medications, very big troublesome a group of drugs. They can cause constipation, they can change your taste, they make your stomach feel heavy, they make you feel sleepy. These things again might be working against your appetite, against a healthy diet. So again, know what you're on and talk to your doctor about them. And if you know in advance what you're going to get, when you're going to start, usually before the doctor tells you you're going to need treatment, there's usually maybe a week, 10 days that you have. Try to prepare, try to stock up foods in advance. If you are going through this journey alone, try to see if you can spend the times that you're feeling well in going through the grocery, getting stuff that you want, getting foods that are easy to prepare, meals that are easy to prepare. And if you have well-wishers, family, friends, ask for help if you need it. There's no reason why one person has to do everything alone. Again, be sure to tell people what they can and cannot help with, so that you are also not overly burdened by too much of help or too much of intrusion. But it's always good to have people there with you. One thing that that I usually recommend to my patients before I start treatment is I try to get a sense of what their diet was before they started. Okay. In the South Asian community, a lot of diets are vegetarian. Again, meats usually are chicken, fish, turkey, oftentimes not so much pork and beef. That being said, the nutritional status of a person before he starts treatment or she starts treatment is oftentimes what is going to determine how well they do. The healthier you are, the easier it is going to be. Most of the times, we do not want our patients to lose a significant amount of weight during their treatment. Maybe 5 pounds plus, 5 pounds minus, but that's pretty much about it. Because there may be a period of time when you actually lose weight, but then eventually you will gain it back as you start feeling better. Chemotherapy is often on a weekly basis, every 2-week basis, and every 3-week basis. And most of the times, the first half of your treatment is when you are not really going to feel well. Towards the end of the second half, you should start feeling much better. And so the goal is to try to get through that initial period, try to figure out what you can do, what you can eat, and then go ahead and get your nutritional status back on track. Ask your doctor to check your B12 levels, vitamin B12 levels, your vitamin D levels. Show the doctor any vitamins that you were taking before you started. If you were taking any over-the-counter supplements, if you were taking any herbal supplements, show them to your doctor and talk to them about it. A lot of times, patients who are taking health supplements, vitamin supplements, they're okay to take before you start treatment. During treatment, we try to have patients avoid this. And the reason is because a lot of times, chemotherapy works by killing the cancer cells with a process called oxidation. Everyone might have heard the term antioxidants. So antioxidants is basically any food that prevents this oxidation process. Oxidation process is a process of destruction of bad cells. So if your chemotherapy is working by oxidation and you're taking antioxidants, you're going to wind up with the chemotherapy effects being diminished. Does that happen all the time? No, it doesn't, but we don't want to take that chance. Vitamin A, vitamin E, these are antioxidants, and if you're taking them in supplemental quantities, in higher quantities, you might be winding up diminishing the effects of your chemotherapy. So while you're on chemotherapy, hold off on doing that. Again, for the Southeast Asian community, there's a lot of Ayurvedic medications. There's a lot of, again, Indian herbal supplements also that a lot of people swear by. And that you might again find a lot of anecdotal evidence from people back home. I took this and it made my ailment go away. Again, the answer is yes. There are a lot of plant products, tree products that have anti-cancer properties. It's not that they don't. Again, however, while you're on treatment, while you're on certain medications, because these are things that have not been studied concurrently, we don't know how it may or may not affect you. So just going by the best of knowledge that we have, we'd rather not have you mix the two. You can definitely do it beforehand, you can definitely do it afterhand, but just while you're getting the medicines, try to hold off on taking those extra supplements. Okay. Your endocrinologist, if you have diabetes, if you have thyroid problems, okay, steroids, for example, are going to make your sugar levels, your glucose levels go up, and that will lead to weight gain. That will lead to sometimes more fatigue, more urination, fluid loss. Okay, diarrhea leads to loss of salts, loss of fluids. These are all things that you have to try to balance. So again, keep these things in mind. If you have diabetes, if you have thyroid problems, make sure your endocrinologist or your primary care doctor is in the loop that I'm going to be getting chemotherapy, I might need your help. Is it okay for me to call you and ask for help, or just curbside you? You know, again, while you're on chemotherapy, you might not necessarily want to be running to 3-4 doctors because you might not feel up to it, but just letting your doctor know will alert them that if there's some help that they need, they can always pick up the phone and call. This is a question that a lot of my patients ask me, challenge me to try to find answers for this. And you know, you hear this a lot, you hear it on the news a lot. And the main thing is, you know, where does sugar fit in with the whole concept of causing cancer? And you know, you hear this thing about colon cleanses, you hear these things about the sugar feeds the cancer, you hear these things about you know, low sugar diets, you know, curing certain types of cancers. So again, just to understand what all that means. Number one, you can't starve a cancer. Okay, a cancer is very much like a parasite. In order to stay alive, the cancer cells will kill the host to continue to be able to live. Okay, and so you cannot stop eating sugar and expect the cancer to go away. The cancer will pull glucose and other nutrition out of your proteins, out of your muscles, out of your other body parts, and will continue to thrive. This has been studied, this has been proven. We see this in nature where there are, you know, weeds and, you know, wild plants that manage to destroy, you know, large and healthy trees and eat the tree away until it's rotten from the middle. And that's kind of what cancer does. You cannot starve it. What you can do is you can fight it with healthy nutritional techniques. So, you know, that's a number one. Number two, again, remember that it's, you know, sugar, yes, is counterproductive. However, when you're on chemotherapy, glucose is the most simplest molecule that is going to give you energy. Okay? Drinks like Boost, Ensure, and all of those over-the-counter ones are high in calories and high in protein, because calories are what gives you instantaneous energy. There are foods that do that too, bananas, for example, but you are going to need some amount of glucose in your diet. Rather go for sugar than the sweet and lows and the, you know, the saccharines and the other packeted sugars. Brown sugar, white sugar, jaggery, these are all good forms of sugar. But again, just understand, not asking you to eat a high sugar diet, but you are going to need calories in your food. So safety tips during chemotherapy, okay, number one, hygiene, okay, wash your hands again, wash your hands a third time. Okay, there is not enough a number of times in the day that you can wash your hands. Alcohol, keeping your house clean, just making sure that you're airing your rooms out, fresh air, exercise, good food, good hygiene practices. Don't let your pet eat from the same plate. If you have birds, be careful about, you know, the bird ruffling their feathers a lot of times can have bacteria on them. Cats usually are technically cleaner animals, but still there are bugs, that there are bacteria, there are diseases that can be transmitted from animal to human. Airborne contact, sick children, going to the hospital to see other you know, friends, relatives, or anyone else. Be careful. You do not need to stay in a bubble, you need to stay safe. If you feel that you are You don't want to venture out when you're on chemotherapy. Avoid the crowds until you feel better. Can you go to the grocery store? Yes, you can. Would you be more comfortable maybe putting a mask on so that you don't get sick? Absolutely. Why not? Okay. At the end of the day, what you want to do is you want to get through this process in a healthy fashion. You don't want to get sick. You don't want to delay your treatment, and you want to make sure that your recovery is the best. So take care of yourself, and that's the best way. If you wind up getting diarrhea, ask your doctor for medications like Imodium, which are over the counter. Ask your doctors if that doesn't work for prescription medications. Wash your hands frequently. There's nothing as important as body and health hygiene. While cooking, make sure you're washing your fruits and vegetables very thoroughly. Make sure you are cooking them. Okay? A diet called a neutropenic diet is a diet in which you should not eat any food that is not cooked, which is usually what we recommend for our chemotherapy patients. Okay? You want to make sure you kill the bacteria. Almost every few months there's something in the news about listeria, salmonella poisoning, oranges were infected, salads were infected, chipotle stuff got recalled. You know, there's things that are there, and all over you want to make sure that you are using good practices. Keep the meats separate. Raw meats can again transmit bacteria. Keep the vegetables in a separate fashion. Wash your knives, wash your cutlery. Okay? You can eat thick-skinned foods, thick-skinned fruits. Fruits, you know, fruit salad is also often a question. Can you eat the cupped or the canned fruit? Yes, you can. There's plenty of preservatives in them. Can you peel things like a banana or an apple or an orange? Again, the answer is yes, as long as the fruit is fresh, as long as you're washing it properly before you eat it. So eating tips during specific situations when you lose your appetite. So oftentimes cycle 1 of chemotherapy gives you some guidance as to how this is going to go. Is it going to reflect the same thing every single time? No. Most of the times things likely get worse as you go along your journey. And the reason is because you are accumulating chemotherapy in your body. And so what happened during cycle 1 is not necessarily going to happen during cycle 3 or cycle 6. But cycle 1, if this is the first time you're going through chemotherapy, is going to give you an idea of when are you going to start feeling sick, when are you going to start feeling better, what happened to how my taste buds changed, what happened to my stomach, what happened to my eating habits, what happened to my sleeping habits. So again, if you have a diary, you know, note these things down. Understand when you're going to start feeling better so that you can start recuperating. Understand when you're going to get sick so that you can hunker down. Lactose intolerance is oftentimes something that patients complain of. Again, for the Southeast Asians, yogurt or dahi and lassi, which is, you know, milk with water, sugar, sometimes cardamom. Again, a thicker consistency is much easier to digest because of the probiotics than actually milk. So if milk doesn't work for you, that's fine. You can go with the yogurt-based products. You can go with cottage cheese. Add some additives in it to make it more flavorful. Keep extra salt on the table when you sit down to eat. Keep some lime as long as you don't have more mouth sores. Indian masalas like chaat masala, again, makes the food smell better, and so sometimes it will make it taste better. Your sense of smell also might get shot with the chemotherapy too. Nausea is oftentimes linked to the sense of smell. If there is a smell that you can't stand, make sure you tell your family members around it so that it doesn't make you nauseous. Okay. Don't try to stay hungry. It's better to eat a small portion of food multiple times rather than trying to tackle a big meal. Walk if you can, or a light amount of exercise before you sit down to eat so that you feel hungry. Walk a little bit or stand upright, or try to just sit down but not recline after you eat too, so that the food's not regurgitating back again, and that will help you. Sip water during the meal. Use thick consistency shakes if that helps you, but try to start your day with a slightly heavier meal, because as the day progresses and your fatigue worsens, you're not going to want to eat. So again, try to start your breakfast and get a healthy breakfast. Try to make sure you get those liquids in. Try to make sure you're getting your water in, but also try to experiment with your food and with your flavors. Indian tea, green tea, cardamom tea. Again, teas are better because there's less caffeine than coffee. Coffee, if you're used to drinking coffee in the morning, 1 cup. Usually I try to tell my patients to limit it to 1 cup. Caffeine is a diuretic, so you can't be drinking too much coffee, otherwise you're going to be just losing fluid throughout the day. So if you want to make that cup count, you know, half a cup morning and half a cup in the evening. Only as long as you're drinking water. How much water? Varies, 24 ounces, 32 ounces, depends upon if you have heart problems, depends upon if you're a younger person, depends upon if you have any kidney problems. Okay, again, there's no one size. Ask your doctor how much fluid you want. A lot of chemotherapy regimens, you get a liter of fluids before, you get a liter of fluids after. Okay, that's 2 liters of fluid. You're going to be peeing constantly. You're going to be going to the bathroom a lot. So you want to make sure that, again, if you're drinking so much water, you're still getting your nighttime sleep if you can. And so you probably want to stop drinking too much water after a certain time. You definitely don't want to drink coffee later on in the evening. But again, small quantities of tea, adding in different kinds of tea bags and flavors, again, to stimulate the senses, stimulate it. Warm liquids make our stomach feel more settled. Try not to go for, again, try not to go for too many different things at a time. Start with one thing, try it out. Again, what tastes good today won't work 2 days later, so have stuff to mix it up. So constipation, okay. Again, fiber, fluids, and food, okay. Fibrous foods are mostly vegetables, okay. A vegetarian diet, a vegan diet, more easily digestible than the red meats, okay, pork, sausage, beef, heavier to digest, harder on the stomach. Again, if you're loving that hamburger, absolutely go for it. I would say start with a half before you try to tackle the whole thing, because it is harder to digest. The spices, the smell, again, oftentimes will make you feel like eating it, and if it is appetizing, definitely go for it. But there's a lot of foods that you can eat to prevent constipation. Prune juice is a big favorite for everyone. Absolutely fine to take some prune juice in the evening time. Drink plenty of water, add fiber, oat, bran, oatmeal, again, warm, smooth consistency, add some milk in it, warm it up, let it cool down before you eat it. Very good for the stomach. If you are having a lot of problems, avoid cruciferous vegetables. Avoid things that are going to give you gas. Cauliflowers, broccoli, cabbage, you want to avoid eating those things. Eat slowly, chew slowly, okay? Enjoy the flavor. Try to make sure that it's going down nicely. Try to make sure you're drinking sips of water along with it. For the diarrhea, it's absolutely the reverse. So the brat diet, bread, rice, apple, toast, more likely to be having diarrhea. Take your medications. A lot of times, if it is a regimen that is going to cause diarrhea, your doctor will give you the medicines beforehand. Keep some Imodium at home. Follow the directions. Make sure if you have a temperature, you're calling your doctor. But you can do things to slow down the process of losing fluids and losing electrolytes. Okay. Again, the lactose intolerance thing comes up. Try soya milk if you want to, almond milk. Those are lactate, you know, those are all good things to try. Light, frequent meals. And avoid fiber when you have too much of diarrhea. So sore mouth, okay. The good news about sore mouth is that it doesn't last too long, but those 3 or 4 days could be very long. Again, start by making sure if you're going to be getting a sore mouth, what we call mucositis, you're talking to your doctor about certain mouthwashes that you may be able to use, lidocaine rinses and washes. Talk to your doctor about the possibility that you may or may not have an infection called thrush. Okay, and if those things are there, you might have to be extra careful. Brushing your teeth helps because it is keeping bacteria from developing. It is keeping that taste clean. The fresher smell, again, stimulates your appetite. Try, again, things that are not, you know, very citrus. You don't want to be doing too many salty foods either, because it's going to irritate those ulcers. A lot of the Indian foods have a lot of spices in them, and patients automatically tell me, I can't eat those foods. That's fine. You will be in a few days. While you can't eat them, try not to. Go with purees, go with blends. This is the time to try things like, cheesy sauces and soups and, desserts, sweeter desserts, okay? Mashed potatoes, miso soup or mushroom soup for the Eastern Asian population. Tofu is good, again easy to digest. Fruit, try to mash the fruit after it gets overripe. Again, it's easier to digest, easier to make into a smoothie. So this is just pretty much a list of a lot of foods that you can use in your cooking that are used very commonly in South Asian diets. Again, we might or might not be using all of these things on a daily basis when we cook, but grains, again, like we mentioned, quinoa, oats, barley, those are lighter on the stomach than wheat sometimes. Population over here in the Western world also oftentimes has to deal with gluten sensitivity, and eliminating the wheat may help. You can, if you are used to using a lot of ghee in your cooking, moderate it a little bit. Ghee is again a little heavy on the stomach to digest, but it might make the food, give the food a taste that you remember, that you like, and that might make you eat it. Again, an Indian food is shiro. I don't know how many of you would be familiar with it, but it's a mixture of flour and ghee and sugar, and it's fairly nutritious and again easy to eat. It's not hard, can be swallowed down. A small helping fills you up right away. I think Jalpa was talking about her leafy greens and cabbages. I saw them on the table. So again, these are good things to eat. If you have gas, avoid the cabbage, but other than that, just sort of mixing things in and juicing them. Juicing is very good. Patients ask me all the time, can I juice? Absolutely. Wash the vegetables and fruits very well. Wash them once, wash them the second time. Try to use the thick peeled one. Remember, if you're on a neutropenic diet, technically you should not be doing uncooked vegetables. So make sure that you're using the ones only with a thick skin. But again, you're getting fresh vegetables and fruits. Teas, beverages, buttermilk, ginger powder, turmeric powder, these things help to improve the body's immune system. They help cells to rejuvenate. Again, these are things that you definitely can incorporate into your diet. Basil leaves, again, gives flavor, gives a nice sense of smell, makes food aromatizing and appetizing. So the next couple of slides are just a little bit about some questions that patients often have about what can we eat these things or not. Soy is a big controversy too. Until very recently, it was thought that soy is not good, especially for the breast cancer population. I myself hedge when patients ask me about soy. I said, it's better to just avoid it because we really don't know. There was just an article published in 2017 in the Cancer Journal, which is what I'm referring to over here on the slide. So the reason why people tend to hesitate about soy, especially breast cancer patients, is because soy has certain the soy is made out of certain proteins called flavonoids, and these are structurally similar to estrogens. And when we talk about breast cancer, we are talking about cancers that can be fueled by estrogens itself. And so it goes to think that if you're eating soy protein, you're getting more estrogen, you're going to stimulate the cancer cells. That being said, Eastern Asian diets are very heavy in soy. And so that led people to think, well, why don't they have more breast cancer than the Western population? The average intake of soy is around 40 to 50 grams a day in this population. In the US, it's oftentimes daily intake is 2 grams. If you're eating a soy heavy diet, it's still only just up to 10 grams. So the article that was published last year basically suggested that for patients who had what we call triple negative breast cancer, meaning breast cancer that does not have estrogen or progesterone or what we call a HER2 marker on them, patients who had soy actually wound up doing better. Also in the patients who were on tamoxifen, what wound up happening is that the soy proteins, which are similar to estrogen, wound up blocking the cancer receptors with the soy protein so that the cancer cells actually did not grow. So rather than stimulate it, they wound up blocking them. So the latest on this is that patients who are taking soy wind up doing better. That being said, I think the advice is more research is needed. I do not think, after examining a lot of information and data about this, that it is in any way harmful if you include some of it in your diet, especially around the time that you might want to try something new. You might not be able to drink milk. You are trying to get protein from other places. I think soy should be absolutely okay, especially because there are so many good sources of soy protein, and it is a healthy protein. The second question is alcohol. Can I drink while I'm on my chemotherapy? Again, the answer most of the times is no. However, there may be an occasion where you might want to, there's a wedding and you might want to get a champagne toast in. It's okay. Ask your doctor first. Chemotherapy gets processed through the kidneys, through the liver. Okay, that's where the alcohol competes with liver functioning. If your body is too focused on breaking down that alcohol and getting rid of it from the body, it is not going to be breaking down and getting rid of chemotherapy. The chemotherapy toxicity can accumulate. Your liver numbers could go up. You could wind up in the hospital. So that's what can happen. So again, having one drink at the time in between or towards the end of your cycle, if you're on a regimen that does not affect your liver, if you otherwise have a healthy liver, should be okay. That being said, always ask first. Alcohol is absolutely linked to a bunch of cancers. Okay, esophageal cancers, stomach cancers are big ones, liver cancers are big ones. Okay, but unfortunately, whereas red wine has been proven on more than one occasion to be heart healthy, it has been proven to be bad for your breast health, and it has definitely been linked to breast cancer. So drink wisely. Maybe 1 or 2 drinks a week. I think should be more than enough. More than 3 drinks a week is not advisable when it comes to counseling, specifically with regards to breast cancer. We ask patients to avoid that. If you are drinking, make sure that you are also taking in more folic acid. Folic acid helps to break down alcohol or ethyl alcohol. So foods rich in folic acid are broccoli, spinach, lentils, beans. Again, these are all good vegetarian sources, which you can ramp up the intake if you're going to plan on indulging yourself during your treatment. And then these are some of the foods that prevent cancer. What can I eat so that I stay healthy? What can I eat after my treatment? What can I eat so that I don't get cancer? I have a family history of cancer. What kind of diet that should I eat? Again, there is no one answer. More than enough healthy people wind up getting cancer. We do not have the secrets to all of this. At the end of the day, it's genetic damage to our cells, exposure in our environment, foods that we might be eating since we were born, and DNA mutations that might have started happening way before we know it. Number 1 is coffee. Yay. So does coffee cause cancer? There has been some noise in the papers. California recently had moved to add coffee to a list of carcinogens because of a certain protein, not protein, but a certain product that was found in coffee beans. The pushback from the coffee companies was that the amount that is present in coffee itself, the substance is called acraldehyde, is in such minute quantities that it would not be able to cause cancer in that quantities. There have been many studies that have linked coffee actually to reduction in the risk of cancer, like liver cancer, endometrial cancer, colon cancer, and melanoma. So what should you do? Well, again, I'm a coffee drinker myself, so take it with a pinch of salt, but nothing in excess is ever good. That being said, it has its benefits. Starchy foods, fries, French fries, when you overcook them, it produces the same acraldehyde, which is a carcinogen, but again, not in that significant a quantity. We have to wait till science does more research and tells us what's right and wrong. Lentils have a lot of fiber. All the foods on here that have fiber help to reduce the risk of colon cancer. The risk of colon cancer in the Western population is high because heavy diets based on meats increase the risk of developing colon cancer. So you want to make sure that you have plenty of fiber in your diet. That fiber protects your colon, reduces colon cancer risk. Onions and garlic have always been thought to be, turmeric have always been thought to be very rich in antioxidants, reducing the risk of cancer. Tomatoes have lycopene. Grapes have resveratrol, which again is present also in red wine, but red wine is not on this list, and green leafy vegetables. Lots of vitamin C, lots of vitamins in general, lots of minerals, healthy diet, vegetarian proteins, vegetarian fiber, again have been proven again and again to be better than the meat-based diets. Again, that being said, red meats like beef, smoked sausages, smoked meats, smoked fish, and pork and bacon were recently added to risk of, were added to a list of carcinogens that is published by the National Cancer Institute. So again, quantity is the key. Anything in excess is never good. All right, thank you so much for coming.